He spent some time in the XFL. It is Coach G.A. Mangus. We've been trying to put this together for a few weeks, or I have, and he's been kind enough to join us today. What's up, Coach?
How we doing, boys?
Hey, man. Well, you're in Columbia, right? It's a breaking news day in Columbia. You know how that works.
Oh, yeah. Rainy day in Columbia. Happy New Year to you guys.
Happy New Year, man. I know that you and your family were traveling around and things like that. I hope you had a Merry Christmas, and I hope you had a Happy New Year. And it's a pleasure to finally get to speak with you a little bit and talk some football. And the first thing I want to ask you about is Coach Beamer. I know you've known Shane a long time. Y'all were on staff together at Carolina for a couple of years. How much have you spoken to him since he's been hired? Your thoughts on his future leading the Gamecocks?
Oh, we've texted back and forth. I hit him up, like a bunch of people did, I'm sure. When he got it, congratulated him, and we've stayed in touch all these years. He's a great guy, and great family, great dad, husband, the whole 9 yards. And he's had a good career, moved around a bunch, and I don't think a lot of people till this went down probably didn't realize that that he was from here originally. I think that kind of got lost in the shuffle years ago. But I know he's glad to be back, and he's got quite a busy guy right now, and a lot of challenges and things to get working on, and I'm sure I know he's up for it and excited to be back, and he's got a great opportunity here, like anybody would have, to get this thing rolling back to what we all know it has been and can be.
I want to pass on, by the way, Coach, the New York City Gamecock Club said to tell you hello and thanks for some time I guess you spent with them years ago. I
love those guys. Yeah, that was my my yearly trip in December, right around my birthday, and right around the Heisman. Whoever I was recruiting up there in the Northeast on that particular year, Coach Spurrier was at he'd go up for the Heisman and for the what they call the National Foundation Dinner, where all the ADs and bunch, basically a who's who of college football was in New York City, and I'd work my way, and then I'd go pick him up in the city, and we'd go see whomever was up there. But while I was on that trip, I would always schedule, and I would always go speak with those guys downtown at the Gamecock bar down there, and those guys are great people and a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun with those folks through the years, and still stay in touch with a bunch of them. Love the great group.
Yeah, when is your birthday? What day is your birthday?
December 4th.
All right, mine's the 12th. You're a little you got me by 8 days. You're just 8 days older than I am. Maybe a couple of years on top of that.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Just stick with the 8. Just a couple of days.
Yeah, good young Sagittarius as we are.
That's right. So when I got engaged in Central Park, Coach, in 2016, but the first night we were there, my girlfriend at the time, she didn't realize the day before I was about to drop to a knee and almost drop the ring. But her and I and my cousins, we went over to the Mason Jar, and I had something on with South Carolina, and the owner, one of the owners, came over and started talking to me, and he realized what I did. Is at the time I was working for ESPN Charleston, and anyways, we had a good time. They took great care of me, and we've stayed in touch here and there since then. You're right. It's neat to see a Gamecock barbecue bar right there in the middle of New York City. It's really cool.
It is, and that thing gets packed, and it's that's if you're going to let a Yankee make barbecue for you, that's the place to go. And
that's right.
Like cold beer and barbecue in New York City is hard to find that, and they do the best there at the Mason Jar, and they're wonderful people and great Gamecocks.
G.A. Mangus was a great Gamecock himself. You mentioned the challenges with Coach Beamer. We know right now he's trying to put together the staff. I'm going to ask you about Marcus Satterfield here in a minute, not necessarily what you know about him, but what will be to come of him taking over the offense. But what type of challenges do you think Shane will have just as a first-year head coach, especially in the Southeastern Conference? Clearly, he knows the area, he knows the state, he knows the program. I get that. But just being the leader of a program, especially in this league, what do you anticipate he'll run into over the next year or so?
Well, you learn. It's like being a dad, first-time dad. I was fortunate to get a chance to be a head coach when I was 33, and you can read all the manuals and you can hang around. Obviously, he's the son of a legendary coach. He worked for a legend in Coach Spurrier and numerous other very, very good coaches that he's had an upbringing in, and that's a testament to him. And moving around and being around all those people, it's still not a manual. You still got to learn on the job, and things are going to come at you. There's going to be curveballs that are thrown at you. And most important, you've got to hang in there. I remember my first year, I went 2-8 my first year as a head coach, and I took over a place that it hadn't won in 20 years. They hadn't had a winning record in 20 years, and that was the first time that I had really ever had a losing record in anything. I mean, I'm going back to Little League baseball, and I struggled with it for a while as the head coach and the challenges that you have. But you just got to hang in there and believe in your plan, and we did, and it resulted in good things. And I think if there's any advice I give young coaches, period, not saying Shane's young, but through these clinics and stuff, is that you got to have your plan and you got to believe in it, and you got to trust it. And those, your first time around, you're going to learn, and there's going to be curveballs that you have to learn how to handle, and you may not handle them perfectly right off the get-go, especially when it comes to hiring staff. You gotta hire staff. You don't need to hire names. You don't need to, today's world, the biggest thing that's changed from when I was a head coach was Twitter and all that. And you don't need to listen to people. I love fans. I love Gamecock fans. I love fans all over, but fans are not going to pick the staff for you. And just because you may not have heard of him and or this or that or different guys or whomever he may pick to fill out his staff, you just got to trust that he knows, and he has to trust that he's hired the right guys to be around him, and have loyal people around you, especially that first go around, because typically when you take over, it's a situation that needs to be fixed. They don't give away first jobs, head jobs to people that are great jobs. Very rarely. I'm not saying that sometimes you don't get the handoff, and he was just part of one of those out in Oklahoma. It's not like Bob Stoops left an empty cupboard to Lincoln, and Lincoln's done a great job out there in Oklahoma, and Shane did a great job, and the whole staff. But most of the time when you get your first head job, there's a reason. It's a situation that needs to be fixed, and there'll be some curveballs, and I know he can handle it. I think he's already going to he'll surround himself with people that can help him handle that, and I think that's always important for first-time head coaches.
I think clearly yesterday may have been one of the first curveballs, right? When two guys from his staff bolt and they're going to Auburn, and then quickly he answers and he's like, all right, I got my guy. I said on the show yesterday, Coach, that the fan base may be panicking, but I bet if we were a fly on the wall around Coach Beamer, he would be maybe a 180 from the way the fan base was reacting to those coaches, and he had to have a sense of calm. What do you take from him immediately filling that offensive coordinator role after the way it kind of went down?
Well, I think we all have our list, and they're not. Some are friends, some are acquaintances, some are guys we respect. That there's all different kind of reasons why and what list you that each of us has when in the expectation that you want to be a head coach. And when you get your chance, here's the guys who I'm going to consider hire. And then you have them at different levels. Like who I hired at a small college level is different than I would hire today. And it would be, it's people you meet along the way, and you constantly, if you're doing it the right way, and I know Shane will do it the right way because he's extremely organized, he always has been, is that you constantly updating that list, because you never know who you're going to meet. Now, we've been with this COVID bullshit. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
That we got going on, all this, we're all sick of it, right? Here we are 9 months later, but you go through this stuff and we haven't gone to our convention. Our convention was supposed to be right now, and you're constantly updating those lists that you're going to do and hire when you get your chance. And so Shane's no different than any other organized football coach that has his stuff together. And he was ready to roll and had a guy from his past. They GA'd together. I've known Marcus met him many years ago, at the convention, and knew a bunch of similar people and people that were in the circle that I knew in my age group, and you get to know these guys and meet them throughout. And he's been all over the place too. And he and Shane go back, I believe, Tennessee's where they were together, maybe as grad assistants together back in the day. So that's the way that kind of stuff goes down. Contrary to what people may think, he's got a list, and he's got people that he wants to work with, and I'm sure if there was any anxiety at all, it didn't last very long.
Yeah, Mangus, 12:15 here on a Friday afternoon. Former offensive coordinator under Coach Spurrier at South Carolina. Been kind enough to hop on with Darren and I. Yeah, so you mentioned you know Marcus, and I was kind of combing. I didn't know much about him, Coach. When I started to get his name mentioned to me yesterday, I started kind of combing through his history a little bit and just what he's been able to accomplish. And I started crunching some numbers when he was at Chattanooga, and then when he was at Temple. Both offenses got better underneath his leadership, and I know he was a head coach for a couple of years, and then he went to Baylor, and he's gone now to Charlotte, and he's been with Matt Rule for quite some time for the most part, and now spending this year up there in Charlotte, and he's been working with Joe Brady, and you bring in this experience with a guy like Marcus working with Rule and Brady. You got Justin Stepp, someone you know the Stepp family.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming back
Absolutely.
from Arkansas, and he's been over there working with that system. And Kendall Briles, you've got Shane, obviously, who's been everywhere and been kind of working with Lincoln for a few years. What does the future look like offensively in your mind? Those styles all meshing in Columbia.
Well, everybody's got to go make it your own deal. I remember when we came here, when Coach hired me in 2009, I grew up in his old Fun and Gun. I played in it. That was what I grew up in, and he wanted to change. And that was what made Coach Spurrier so great. I think that's what makes any coach good, is you have to adapt. Look at Coach Saban. I mean, who would have thunk he would have ever coached a team that was trying to throw 40 on the board every week? He used to like to win games 20-10, and as a defensive mindset guy, but the great ones change and they adapt. And I think that's the way we're all in. Everybody, it's a thievery business. Every morning I've got my little office set up waiting to, we're waiting for The Rock to tell us when we're going back, with the XFL. And so I've got NFL film, I've got our film from last year, and I go through and dissect and get all my cut ups and you try to morph it, just like Kevin Gilbride. He was a run and shoot guy. I have an RPO, Fun and Gun, quarterback run, and we meshed it together to what we're doing in the XFL and doing it at the pro football level. And so that's going to happen with all of Marcus's background. He's been all over the place, and Matt, me and Matt coached against each other. He was at Albright College back in the 90s. He and Jeff Collins, head coach at Georgia Tech. I was at Widener University. We all coached against each other, going back 25 years ago.
Wow.
And Matt's not, he's not the same coach today that he was. We're not the same people, and nor is Marcus. And he's moved around and learned and what they're doing. Matt, we went down to Baylor when me and Kevin got together in the XFL, and Kevin knew George DeLeon, who's his O-line coach, and kind of mentor. That's one of Matt's mentors. And I'm sure Marcus knows him well. And he's one of the great O-line coaches of all time. And won Super Bowls and such in the NFL. But, they're even learning and going to RPO and modern stuff. And that's what Kevin wanted to do there. And that's what, Marcus and all of us that go visit, we all go visit people every year. I was up at Ohio State last spring, but before COVID, and met with those, sat down with me and Mike and Ryan and Tony Alford and Kevin Wilson and all of us putting thoughts and ideas together in spring practice. And so that's what you do, but then you got to put your stamp on it. And that's what you have to do. And those guys will do it. I mean, Shane's been out there. He's been around Lincoln stuff, and I'm sure he's seen all the good things that they do with their play action and quarterback run game and such. And, they've had pretty damn good players as well. And it's also, everybody's got to remember, when you got really good players, about anything you do works if you believe it. And so they'll settle in on something. I'll be curious, to kind of see where that goes. And you've got a bunch of people, Justin and his brother, those guys will all kind of come out of, they spent some time with Chad and that kind of offense there that a little bit that Clemson's running and it's all good. I mean, all of it's good. It's a matter of getting it. And then most importantly, though, you got to convince the kids, whatever you do, it doesn't matter. You want to run triple option, but the kids better believe in it, and you better know how to teach it.
Yeah. You mentioned his brother, Josh. He's over there with Sean at Georgia State.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
What a great circle of coaches to be in. And saying all that, I mean, you called plays in the SEC, with Coach Spurrier. You know what it's like to step into this league. This is different. The physicality, the speed on defense is different than anywhere in the country. What's the learning curve when you step in there that first game or two and just trying to get adjusted to what you're seeing out there?
Well, it's in general, just moving up to that league, and that's the funny thing that you see is what are people's backgrounds, and I think, I've coached at every level in college football, from 3, 2, 1 AA, mid-major Division I to the top of the pinnacle in the SEC. Well, at least that's the way I see it. It's the top of the heap in college football is that, and now gotten a chance to coach pro football for the last couple of years. So, at the professional level. So every one of those is a little different. I remember the very first full live practice we had in Houston in training camp with the XFL was even a kick it up a notch from SEC speed and intensity and all that. So that's always a process. But if you've been doing this long enough, which most of us all have, you've at least been and attended practices, games, been there live. And it's not that big of adjustment, but it is different. And what you can get away with in the SEC with the D linemen, with the pressure and the physicality of that area of the field in the interior lines, it is different than the rest of the country. Not saying that other leagues don't have. I mean, Ohio State is very physical up front, and I've seen it and see how they teach it, and they very much have an SEC mentality. Whether that started with Urban, I don't know. But I just know the way they teach it now, they're very physical. Michigan has been physical through the years, but top to bottom as a league, every single week you tee it up in the SEC. You better have your A game, and you better be able to run the football, and you better be able to play defense. And that's how you win championships. I still believe that. That's the way you can still do all the fluff and motions and do all the fun stuff that I love to do, and modern day guys love to do. But at the end of the day, you still got to be able to run the football. And if you look back to those years we had success in South Carolina, that's what we did.
That's exactly right. Kevin Harris did it this past year. It's a good building block for them.
He did. Had a great year.
I mean, look at the national championship. We were talking about this yesterday. Coming up on Monday, I know that everybody can't wait to watch Devontae Smith and Mac Jones and Justin Fields. But let's all be honest with ourselves, right? Whoever runs the football better, whether it's Harris or Sermon's going to probably win the game. Yep. They're going to have to run it well. Coach, Shane has made it a point. We talked to him a few weeks ago, not too long after he got hired, and he's made it a point to find some qualified guys who've been in this program before. You've coached a lot of them. You've probably talked to some of these guys about their futures, maybe underneath Coach Beamer at South Carolina. How important is that? How important is that specifically to the Gamecocks program? Obviously, limited success over the years. The best run ever was what you were a part of. You helped build it under Coach Spurrier. How important is it for Coach Beamer to find the right qualified individuals who have put their time in this program, care about it, and want to come back and be a part of it?
Well, I think it's everything, and I think he just probably got a really good dose of that at Oklahoma. I remember in 2006, Bob Stoops was the head coach then, obviously, and I was at Middle Tennessee State as the offensive coordinator, and we were playing one of our money games and went out there and doing their on the sidelines and pregame warm-ups. There's Billy Sims and Coach Switzer and Brian Bosworth, and they introduced the players that are currently playing, and you just see the history and tradition, and you can't coach that. That's what people on the outside and fans, they think they know. I've loved it. This is one of my favorites. That's what they say when I'm speaking to booster clubs and stuff. You think you know, but you don't really know.
Right. Unless
you're in there on a daily basis. Sure. You think you know. And in the 24/7 sports media world that we have and all that stuff, everybody thinks they know, but they don't. And that kind of stuff really matters. But at the end of the day, you've got to create tradition. Okay, well, what's the tradition of South Carolina now? Well, what I would look at it as is that we set kind of the bar, right? We won 11 games 3 years in a row. Is that the norm or is that the bar? Well, those people that were around at that time, the reason we were good is because our best players were our best people and our hardest workers. It's not hard. It's really not. 2 + 2 is 4 if you're logical and reasonable. And we had Marcus and Alshon and Connor and Travian Robertson and Cliff Matthews and Darian Stewart. I mean, I'm going back to the very first when I first got here in the 2009 era. Yeah. And then Stephon and Devontae, and you see some of these guys have gotten into coaching. They were our best players. DJ Swearinger. They were our best players, but they were also our best people and our hardest workers. And when the locker room runs itself, coaching's easy. It really is. But the hard part is to get all of them to buy in and find those leaders. And it's getting harder every single day in today's world. And so that will be a big challenge for Shane, but he'll do that. He understands tradition and culture. And if you have culture and you have tradition, winning is easy. It really, really is. And I've seen it. I've been fortunate to be a part of it. I've created it on my own, and I've been a part of creating it with others. And it's if you know, you know. And he knows, and he's been a part of a bunch of them. And so I think you'll see, my hope is that you see a lot of coaches that were there when we won, and you see a lot of players that were playing when we won, and however they get involved, whether it's Connor coming back off the field and being around, and director of player personnel. I mean, if I was around South Carolina, I mean, obviously I am. I live here in Columbia. I never left. I love this place. Connor loves this place. You have to have people that love. I love Carolina, and you got to have people that love Carolina, because you are still chasing the tradition that Georgia's and the Alabamas and even Auburn's and those people. They had Tennessee. They have more of a long-term culture and tradition and history of winning than South Carolina. But that doesn't mean that you can't chase it. You just got to keep chasing. It's all about the chase. And you chase as hard as you can, and maybe you can never get there on a yearly basis, but you damn sure can get there and give it a shot and get it and develop players and understand this job. And I know Shane does. That's the key to me in South Carolina. You have to understand what this job is. And a guy like a Devin Taylor, I always said I coached against Devin in the XFL. I mean, that's how cool the whole pro football was. I got to run back in the guys that I coached here. Mm-hmm. And Devin, Devin was a guy who weighed 215, 220 pounds in high school, triple jump guy, 6'7", became a 6'7.5", 285-pound guy that played in the NFL for 6 years, and is still looking to get back in. And he developed. And Brad Loing did a great job developing a guy like him, amongst others. I could go on and on about Brad and what he did with the D-line. But that's what South Carolina is. Very rarely are you going to get a Clowney that comes to South Carolina over and over and over, year in, year out, the 5-star guy who's ready to play, from the time he was 3 o'clock, looked like he could put a suit and go to work. You're not going to get those guys in South Carolina on a regular basis, year in and year out. So you have to develop. You got to coach them. And Shane understands that. And I think that's been key at this place, understanding the Block C and understanding what that means and how you can make that into beating Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, et cetera, in this league. And he's got a challenge ahead of him. We know that. He knows that. And but I think he's up for it because he understands it.
Just a couple minutes left. I know we've kept you for a while, Coach, and we really do appreciate your extended time today with Darren and myself. But it's just been a pleasure to be able to get to talk with you. You mentioned all these people that love Carolina. There's a lot of people that love you. What do folks need to do to get you back involved? You know how many times I've heard this? Yesterday I mentioned to somebody. I think I'm going to try to get Coach Mangus on tomorrow. Oh, man, I'd love to have him back calling plays or doing something. And then since then, we put out on social media that you were coming. Everybody wants to see you back in the Gamecock uniform. Do we need to make a call for you, Coach?
Hey, everybody's got my phone number. It ain't changed. As a matter of fact, I had to buy it. Hell, it cost me $100 to buy it back from South Carolina when we left, to keep my number or give the phone back. But everybody's got my number. And hey, I would coach at Carolina forever. I love what I'm doing in the XFL. The COVID, kind of screwed us up in the middle of the season there, and we're waiting to go back to work. But I love this place and love this town, and got a lot of good friends. And my kids, I got a junior at AC Flora, and I got an 8th grader at Creighton, and I just wasn't going to move them all over the country year in, year out, the way a lot of coaches do. So we got roots here, and we love it. And you guys do a great job, and everybody associated with, and go Cox.
Well, you got it. You mean you have a state champion at AC Flora, right? Isn't that what you meant to say?
And you know what? What a great job Dustin and those guys did. And since I'm not currently employed in the NCAA, I can say whatever the hell I want to say about it. And congratulations to Dustin and all those Perry Orth and all those guys over at AC Flora winning the first ever state championship. And then the cheerleaders, which my daughters have gone through the cheerleading deal there, and they are won the cheerleading state championship. So I'm a girl dad, and so I got to give them a shout out too.
Yeah, man.
I'll tell you this. I was actually around you a couple of times. You probably didn't know it because we didn't have the access doing some of those D2 games, but I was up at Kutztown. I don't know. Once I think I had you once at home and once on the road or something like that a couple years back doing doing that D2 package. So it's fun going up around there. That PSAC is it's a pretty legit Division II league that a lot of people, I guess, who aren't familiar with the division don't know about.
Well, it's a great league. It's a shame that those guys didn't get to play this year. You know, they've got themselves tied up in you know, the side of politics that we're not going to discuss on this show, but they you know, they haven't gotten to play. They're supposed to play in the spring. I talked to those guys. I know a ton of those guys in that league and some great coaches, and had a lot of fun in those 2 years, you know, commuting back and forth from here up there with my good friend Jim Clemens, and we had a lot of success and won a bunch of games, and it's a heck of a league. It really is. I hope they get back playing soon.
Yeah, I do too, Coach. And we hope you get back playing soon as well. Final question for you: what's your experience been like with the XFL when they brought it back? I think a lot of us didn't really know what to expect, and it was a shame that the pandemic hit and it ended everything a little bit prematurely. And we know that it's coming back again soon. But what has your experience been like as compared to everything else you've done in your coaching life?
You know what? It was great. I really enjoyed it. I like you didn't, you know, I wondered because I was a kid, you know, we were all kids when it came out. What you guys may not even been much around. Were you around the first?
Yeah, I was. I'm
real young.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 35. I mean, I'm old enough. So
yeah, okay, good. I'm 35. When I go to bed tonight, I'm gonna dream about being 35 again. But we, you know, it was very different. The football was phenomenal, and the coaching was, you know, a guy like Kevin Gilbride. I mean, I had kind of admired him as an offensive mind from afar for years. I didn't know him from Adam's House Cat, and just kind of got a random call from him, and he wanted to kind of get a little modern, up tempo, and kind of add to his you know, acumen of knowledge, and you know, having won a couple Super Bowls, you know, to go down and interview with a guy like that and get offered a job was cool. You know, that was really cool. And to get, you know, 40 years NFL guy, been a head coach in the NFL and didn't know me at all, said, bring a computer down. I flew down to Naples and bang, he offered me a job the next day. And I showed him my stuff, and a lot of it was Kutztown stuff. I showed him some South Carolina stuff, but a lot of it, because that was the most current stuff. And showed him a bunch of Kutztown film and stuff we were doing with the tempo, and he really liked it. And so that's what we did. And getting the kids, and what was amazing about it is that, yeah, it's not the NFL, and a lot of these kids, most of them had at least had a stint in the NFL. But to have that level of player at every single position, you know, just pros everywhere, you know, it was a lot of fun. And then these guys wanting to get back to the NFL. So it was kind of a mix of a college attitude. They were very hardworking because what do they want? They want to go get paid again. You know, like, not that they weren't getting paid with us, but they want to go back and try to get a shot at the big paycheck in the NFL again and keep adding to retirement and the whole deal. So they very much had a eager beaver college player attitude of wanting to learn and all that. And then combine that with just, you know, the way they act and the professional and everything they, you know, the way they go about everything that they do. So it's a good league. It's a great concept. I think it's much needed. It's much needed at that time of the year. Yeah. And I think it has nothing. I think the Rock, I haven't got a chance to meet Rock yet. You know, met the McMahons and they were all into it. And again, it was very different than what it was, you know, in 2000. But the football was premium, the coaching was premium, and I think it has a great future if we can just get through all this stuff, because it was really going good. I mean, the atmosphere in St. Louis, we played in St. Louis, they kicked our tail that night. But the atmosphere in that dome was a lot like the old Georgia Dome atmosphere. I mean, there was 35,000 people in there, and it was really taken off. And we beat Bob Stoops and them in Dallas, and we were really peaking at that time. And we played them down in the ballpark at Arlington, the old one, the original one, and great atmosphere there. Scotty Spurrier was on, you know, running the special teams for Bob on that staff, and Hal Mummy. I mean, again, just a lot of great coaches and great players, and it was a great atmosphere. And then we were supposed to play June Jones in Houston, who was undefeated. We were in first place in the East; they were first place in the West, and they canceled us down on the COVID on that Thursday. So I left New York, and I've been back since. So golf game's strong to quite strong, but it's time to get back to work. So we'll see what happens here.
You need to get. I think DeMarco, he's been playing a bunch too. So get him over to Columbia and see who's.
Oh, I bet he said, yeah. I need to. Me and his uncle went to school together in Florida.
Yeah.
And I thought I was a pretty good player, and you'd shoot. You go shoot 71, 72, and get beat by 10 shots. Me and Dudley were shooting 62 and 63, and I said, "Nah, I better go into coaching. This golfing thing's not gonna work out for me at the professional level."
What's it?
Yeah, I'll bet he is playing a bunch, and I know he loves it as well.
What's it? I know we keep extending this, but we can't let you get out of here without talking about Coach Spurrier. What's it like playing golf with him? Give me a golf impression of Steve out there somewhere.
Oh, God, I played with him. I've been playing with him for 30 years, off and on. I played with him not too long ago. He was through town. He still comes through town, and we played up at Windermere.
Mm-hmm.
And it got a little cold and started raining, and so we shut it down after 16 holes. But he doesn't hit it the way he used to. He plays the up tees now finally, where he still has, but he can still create the bet now. And when those that create it normally win it. So they set the stakes and set the tees and the match because they know what they're doing. So we've had a lot of fun on the golf course through the years, and I look forward to hopefully getting a chance to play with him a bunch here in the future, because he still loves to play, but with back surgeries and those kind of things, he doesn't quite play the way he used to, but he loves it. I can tell you that. And he's competitive as hell out there. So we've had a lot of matches. The language is a lot worse on the golf course than it ever was on the sideline. I can assure you that. So,
it's true for all of us.
But it's fun.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
I don't anticipate he's throwing his clubs out there like he used to chuck that visor every so often, but no,
he doesn't. But he can get mad. And Shane knows. Shane, I've played. Shane's gotten a couple of chances to play in the top group with the good players, but then he's succumbed to the F troop most of the time.
That's what he said.
Shane's golf game is not bad. I don't know. I haven't played with him in a while. It's been 10 years since I played with him, but he got succumbed back to the F troop with Jamie Speronis and some of those other guys down the road. Everett was an F trooper as well. Me and Whammy and Coach and we were and Steve Jr. We were the four guys that played the feature foursome. Coach called it. So that's where the good players played, and then it went on down the line. The F troop was the worst players.
Yeah,
so you can ask Shane about the F troop sometime.
Yeah, he mentioned that because when he talked about it. Yeah, did he? Well, he said something about it in his press conference, and then we talked to him about it on the air. But when we were talking to him on the air, oh God, was it Jay? No, it was Michael Haney. Michael Haney.
Yeah, it was him or Morgan.
It was Michael Haney. Okay. Sent me a picture on Twitter of him, Shane, Mike Morgan, and Jay Phillips, and he said, "I can't remember if this was the F troop, one of the F troop days or not, but it wasn't a good round." So,
yeah, those F troop day. Those guys, they bring in the rear now. They come in about an hour after everybody else is already done. So. It's normally they just come in and throw their money on the table. They know they don't have a chance to win anyway.
Yeah.
But good times.
Well, Coach, look, we kept you forever, man, but we really did. We really do appreciate it. I appreciate you hanging out with us, and it was good to catch up with you. Good stuff. I'll keep in touch with you if you don't mind. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, do it anytime.
But we're pulling for you. Next time I'm in Columbia, maybe we'll try to put together a round out there someday somewhere. Maybe play at Windermere or something like that, and just try to.
Hey, anytime, you got my number.
You got
Happy New Year to you guys.
Yes, sir.
And I think the best is yet to come. So everybody, hang in there.
You got that right, Coach. Happy New Year to you and your family, and thank you so much.
You got it. See you guys.
There you go. G.A. Mangus, former offensive coordinator under Steve Spurrier at South Carolina. That was a good, fun conversation to have here on a Friday. Things have been kind of crazy the last few days, and old GA's got us laughing, so that's a good thing. Now, Raphael's probably not laughing